Welcome, welcome. This is Rob Fighting. As of yesterday, Undercity Informers banned, so I believe Oops All Spells will be much less important in Legacy. That's a win. I'm a bit sad because I spent lots of time with Oops All Spells in the last weeks. I did top 8 a tournament in Austria last weekend, so right before the finish line. Because Oops is banned, I think it is a good time to revisit Cradle Control, one of the decks that had a really bad Oops All Spells matchup, and you needed to play 4 Endurance main and hope to actually get there. So let's move the Endurance to the sideboard, and my plan is to have an insect-style deck, 4 Grist, 4 Springheart Nantuko, and even one Ice Tilt Explorer that can get the Wastelands back and everything that was wastelanded on my side, get it back. And the card I want to try out, I saw it in Standard, I think it's cool, is Ouroboros. Beginning of combat on your turn, put X +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, where X is this creature's power. On Sunday in Austria, I played this deck with Natural Order and Atraxa against the blue decks with counter magic. Very often you board out, well, I boarded out, not sure if it's correct, it's just my feeling. I don't want to 2-for-1 myself against the deck with counter spells. I boarded out the Natural Orders, I also boarded out Atraxa because it's almost impossible to cast her. And this made me feel like I wanted to do something else with this 4-mana slot. I still like Alpha Deathclaw, I still like Crater Behemoth, who is under my face. And I still like the Zeniths, so it's still a Zenith deck. You are less prone to Grafdigger's Cage because you only play the Zeniths and not the Natural Order. And I like that the Ouroboros, I probably have to say the name in this league quite a few times, pumps all my small creatures, Bird, Ignoble Hierarch, Nantuko, the insects that are made by Grist, because I had the big problem that I couldn't really beat Barrogoyfs, I couldn't really beat Murktides, so I wanted to play main deck removal. I think Grist is fantastic. Grist also solves the Tamiyo issue. Yes, it's 3 mana. Tamiyo on turn 1, flip with Brainstorm on turn 2 can still be challenging, but there's ramp, so I think it's possible, and most people won't expect 4 Grist main deck. That could be something. A card that I totally loved over the weekend was Talon Gates. It is really, really cool to get as a trick with white. Whenever a big creature is attacking you, you can phase it out. And it's even cooler with Basingse because you can Earth Bend the Talon Gates, then sacrifice it to the white because it's a creature, it comes back, it phases out something once again. So there are these small little tricks that can be cool. Overall, it's quite a fair deck on the back of Bechamel Cup. So this is explosiveness in mana times, I don't know, 10 or 1000, whatever your scale is. It is really big. I started this Ouroboros deck and I noticed that I wanted more removal in the sideboard. So my sideboard is now, I believe, the 5 best cards to have in this shell. It is Thoughtseize against combo, it is Snuff Out against Murktide Regent, or other big creatures, Delver of Secrets, the Dragon Switch Chandler. This, of course, is a discussable slot. I like the tempo that Snuff Out gives. Playing something like Abrupt Decay, Assassin's Trophy, Dismember, maybe to kill Barrogoyf could be nice. Even playing Barrogoyf itself could be nice because I had a few struggles against the blue-red tempo. So I can totally see myself running 3 Barrogoyfs instead because I felt the endurance is really hard to keep up with all the flow states, the Dragon Raids channelers that surveil over and over again. So even if you have endurance, maybe bestowed with a Springheart Nantuko that you can do it over and over again, it is sometimes not enough and they can still sneak in a Murktide Regent. So maybe even like Snuff Out and Endurance could be something like Abrupt Decay and Barrogoyf, totally open to this, but I do believe the deck needs Force of Vigor to function, and it also needs Disruptor Flute, a card that Marek Fabsho, who borrowed me the deck on Sunday, he played it on Saturday, and I really, really like in the current meta. So many things you want to name: Urza Saga, Khan the Great Creator, even something like a Wasteland would be a cool name. So I wonder how this will go. I wonder how I will do. I hopefully won't make so many mistakes. I need to pay attention that the white costs black mana and I shouldn't tap my black mana before casting it. Otherwise, I cannot do it. Let's jump into the league with this Ouroboros Cradle control. Let's start with round number 1. We have Noble, we have Bechamel Cup and something to do with it. Let's go. Here I get a Bayou. Maybe it could have been good to get a Forest. Our opponent plays Undercity Sewers. Surveyor's Ponder to the bottom. I just go for it. Could have been better to just wait for like some development, maybe equip Bestow, the Hierarch, but I feel this is the most explosive I can do, and afterwards I can still play the Nantuko and the Hierarch, and next turn it's a fast grist. My opponent concedes though, having seen this. Why not? For game 2, I brought in my Endurances. I wasn't sure if it's Doomsday or if it's Blue-Black Tempo, so I took out some Oboroids, Collector Hoof, and Crater Hoof. I still kept the Alpha Deathclaw, but if I bring in Thoughtseize, it's a really terrible card against Blue-Black Tempo. If I bring in Snuff out, it's only good when the Doomsday players board in or have the Tamiyo Murktide plan, otherwise it's a stinker as well. So I just brought in the Endurances and hope it's enough. We have some ramp and a Deathclaw. Let's try it. Hopefully the top of our deck is nice to us. Thoughtseize gets the Deathclaw. Maybe he's on Reanimator. That would also be a blue-black version. That is cool. We draw the Absolute Nuts in Bechamel Cup again. Thinking about getting a Forest here because the Hierarch makes black mana. Fatal Push Wasteland sets me back right far in the past. Brainstorm, fetch, green mana, ponder. Interesting. What can I draw? Ice Till is fantastic. So I can play Bechamel, animate, Cradle, play Ice Till, make another land drop. The Fair Magic continues. I have a good board. I just miss Nantuko for the maximum. I play out the bird, because why not? I can always draw the Zenith. What can my opponent do here? Just a Barrogoyf, so it is blue-black tempo. I don't know why the green splash. Nantuko is, of course, fantastic. I get it on the cup to just make infinite cups, have infinite mana. And my opponent concedes. So that was a really nice round 1 start. I love how the Springheart Nantuko works in the deck with in total 4 land drops because of the fetch lands. I would have made 4 Bechamel Cup copies because I have plenty mana. Each Bechamel Cup will also net me a mana with the Hierarch and the Birds of Paradise. So this would be a fantastic board, and I would also have plenty of jump blockers. I could even like quadruple block the Barrogoyf. I really like the Nantuko, and I really like the Redemption because on Sunday Alexander from Munich completely destroyed me with this card, and I have a bit of a sad feeling when I see it because how hard it was to beat for my fair little green creatures. But of course, if I have a busted start like this, my opponent just has a Thoughtseize and a couple of draw spells before casting the Barrogoyf, 0 interaction, then I am in good shape. Hopefully I can continue in round number 2. Round number 2 against Pink Panther. I lose the die roll. I don't have a fast start, so I mulligan. Here's a Hierarch and a Bechamel Cup. I bottom one of the Nantukos because I wanted to try out the Ouroboros. Maybe that was a mistake. Delver of Secrets, Mishra's Bauble, of course, great. Here I'm unhappy with the Bayou. It should have been a forest. I need to be more careful about the wasteland situation. Ponder. Please no wasteland. There's a wasteland. That's unfortunate. I can still cast the Badger Mole for a delayed fun with forest. My opponent dazes it, so I got extremely punished for that Bayou. Yes, the Ponder could have found something different, like a Lightning Bolt, but miserable. Dragon's Rage also online, so quite a good start from my opponent. I can just bestow, but I don't have anything to block the creatures in the air, and there's also nothing I can draw. And the Oboroid, if it would have been a natural order for either Crater Hoof or Alpha Deathclaw or Atraxa, would have been in much better shape. So yeah, not a good sign for the Oboroid. This would have been a good situation to have natural order. Of course, if I would have drawn the one of Atraxa, that would have not done it as well. Let's go to game number 2. So I took out the Oboroids. I also took out the Crater Hoof. I plan to beat him with the Alpha Deathclaw and the Ice-Till Explorer. I brought in the Snuff Outs, I brought in the Endurances, and I also took out the 4th Cradle because I feel I will never have so many creatures on the board, and having more than one in hand is usually a liability. Let's see how game 2 goes. Unfortunately though, took out all the Oboroids. One land, a bit of a risk. Do have 2 birds though. And I learned from game 1. Let's get that forest and be safe. Bolt the bird. No, ponder the bird. Let's draw a land. That would be cool. Not a land, not cool. Probably a greedy keep. Dazes my Badger Mole, also not cool, but at least he is set back. It hurts that he has the Dragon's Rage already. He forces my Badger Mole Cup, I have a Birds afterwards, and also Endurance Grist to handle the Dragon's Rage. This is definitely a matchup where you want as many Endurances and Grists in the deck as possible. So let's get one out. Here's Grist. Let's kill the Channeler and pass. Maybe the Endurance would have been better to begin with. Because I took myself off of 1 mana, and now I could be dazed. Unless, of course, I draw a Badger Mole. So I just play my cards out. Doesn't matter to play the Oof or not. Probably it should have not been in my deck anymore. Just shutting off the Mishra's Bauble is definitely not enough. Also equipping the Curry Steelcutter. Not the greatest of possible draws. So yeah, the Oof I did not see. I usually have it in the sideboard, so that was definitely my mistake. Here's Endurance, shrink the Channeler. I don't want to give him opportunity to draw more. I am so far ahead on boards. Also get to attack for 5 when I do it like this. But yes, of course, you can wait for the Channeler to attack, flash in Endurance, and then block. That's even cooler, but I still have the Endurance to block, and I also wanted to prevent him from making Murktide Regent, the blue Murktide. So what can my opponent do? Flow state, flow state, flow state. It's another argument for waiting with the Endurance. So let's cast Nantuko first. I hoped for him to counter it because Nantuko on Endurance feels really good, but it doesn't seem like my opponent has any counters. So let's just overwhelm the board with small little creatures. I'm on 16 life and I'm far away from Price of Progress. I can also Endurance again because the Badger Mole Cup nets me mana, which is quite fine having an Nantuko bestowed on an Endurance. Let's hope game 3 looks similar. This time I did not miss the collector oof, so one of the Oberoids can come back in, create a hoof out, 2 Oberoids, a Wasteland and a Cradle. I feel the tempo plan with a fast Wasteland against the Delver deck is not really that good. I still have 1 Wasteland in the deck. If I ever get to, I still lock them, but they do play basics, I think. So yeah, I feel having mana producers that make green, lands that make green and black mana is better in this matchup. Yeah, I just see that my opponent is on 63 cards, so something went wrong during sideboarding. 1 lander once again, we do have some birds. But of course, there's an argument to mulligan this. So let's bird it up. There's Lightning Bolt, that's a bummer, and a Delver, also a bummer. No land, bummer. More removal spells for my birds, bummer. Blind Flip Delver, of course, also a bummer. Here I let him daze my Zenith because I drew a land and I can Zenith once again. And hopefully from there develop my board. There is a good Murktide 6/6. I need to draw an answer. And I have it in the deck with the Zenith. I can do the Bechamel Cup beforehand. And then 4 mana to cast the Zenith on 3. I don't even lose the land because the Bayou comes back. I handled Murktide. 12 life is dangerous. The Grist gained me 3 here. I got punished for getting the Bayou, but I only played 2 forests, so there was no way out. Here it will take some time to develop the Deathclaw. I could do it next turn, 4 mana from the creatures and 2 forests. Let's see if my opponent has anything. I make more Bechamel Cups and I put an Alpha Deathclaw on the stack. My opponent forces, that's unfortunate. I attack for 4. Opponent attacks for 3, 1 card in hand. I draw the Nantuko, nothing less or nothing more. I can only put him to 1. My opponent attacks, waits for second main to show me the Lightning Bolt. Ba, 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 ba. So a little too slow, but I don't think there was much that could be done differently. Yes, of course, you can mulligan the hand, but I had the mana the moment I draw lands. The hand does something. On the other hand, I only had the Zenith. Maybe the better play would have been Endurance. But on the other hand, it was Murktide Regent, so it was just Zenith. And my opponent had 2 draws to find the Lightning Bolt, already cast 1. Of course, there are many draws in his deck that also find Lightning Bolt, so it's unlikely that he just whiffs completely. But on the other hand, he has cards like Wasteland, he has cards like Dragon's Rage Channeler, like Murktide Regent, that would have not done it because I have a bunch of small creatures on the battlefield and he really needed to do the damage right now in this turn. So unfortunate, 1-2 overall, 1-1. Round number 3. We have some ramp, we have some unfair creatures. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what my opponent is up to. Mana Confluence. I have no clue what Mana Confluence casts these days. We do have the Cradle, the unfair start, which makes a turn 2 Oberoid. Let's see if I get to make it. Great Hall of Biblioplex. Okay, instants and sorceries for a life. Dark Ritual, Echo of Eons. Here we go. It's like Epic Storm or Saga Storm. I don't know, some Storm variant. Storm 9 with that Burning Wish, getting Tendrils, and I die. At least I had a nice turn 1 with the Zenith. The sideboard games get much more competitive because I bring in Force of Vigors, I bring in Disruptive Flutes and Thoughtseize. I take out the Grists. Yes, he has the Hexing Squelcher, but I doubt it's still in the deck, so why keep it? I take out the Deathclaw, what to kill. I take out 2 Oberoids. I still have 1 to find with the Zenith. I take out the Greater Hoof because I feel when I have enough mana, then the Orboroid will get there too. Endurance is of course a bummer, but the way Lion's Eye Diamonds work, I cannot respond in between him sacking it for mana and casting Echo of Eons. So let's see how game number 2 works out. Thoughtseize and a white. Let's go. Hopefully that Thoughtseize can get there. I see 2 Echoes, 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds, Besiege and Dark Ritual. Damn. I shouldn't cuss, but if it would only be a Lion's Eye Diamond and an Echo, I can take the Lion's Eye Diamond. So that's a bit of a bummer. I cannot punish this hand. I take one of the Lion's Eye Diamonds. Maybe he doesn't draw the black mana for the Dark Ritual. He does. Oops. Here's Lion's Eye Diamond. 3 black mana and Echo of Eons is cast. Interestingly, I do have a Force of Vigor in hand. So unless my opponent plans to Echo of Eons me once again, I take exactly this spot right here with the imprint, because it could be that my opponent has red cards in hand, and he needs the imprinted Chromox to cast something like a Burning Wish, like a Gamble. I take exactly this imprint spot to get his 2 artifacts. If he has Echo, I will lose my hand anyways. If he has one of the red cards, I can get him with the Chromox. And thinking about it, probably would have been better to start with Chromox and then play the Lion's Eye Diamond out. So let's cast that Force of Vigor, pitch one of the Dorks, and cross fingers. Please work. It does work. Cool. Opponent plays a Mox Opal and passes 4 cards in hand. That Thoughtseize should be good. Opponent reveals Gaia's Will, Veil of Summer, Faithless Looting. So yeah, the Chromox didn't really do anything here. But it would have been the 3rd artifact from Mox Opal to cast the Faithless Looting. So I take the looting and play out one of the Mana Dorks and hope I get there. Veil of Summer, and Gaia's Will, nothing to play. That is, of course, a fantastic draw. I could either get the Orboroid or I would get Oof if I'm watching the video right here, and that's also what I decided. Orboroid would have been a faster clock, but Oof means I will kill him in like 2 or 3 turns. His mana, though, is shit. Here is the Zenith. Here is the Orboroid. Let's get it going. 2-turn clock. Fantastic. Love it. That 1-off Orboroid. Maybe 1-off is enough. We don't need all 4. So in game 2, I saw Faithless Looting. I hope I didn't see it in game 1, which is why I also bring in the Endurances. I took out all but 1 Orboroid. I took out a Death Claw, some of the Crysts. I also left the Craterhoof just to have a way to kill. But yeah, in the end, I don't think the high end matters so much. It's just good to have a card to kill with, either Orboroid or the Craterhoof, and I've chosen to have 1 each. Let's see how it goes. Thoughtseize is cool, Endurance is cool, Disruptor Fruit is cool. Let's see if I can untap. There's a looting. And a Lotus Petal. I know that my opponent has Veil of Summer in the deck, so here I will just Wasteland and see if he presents another artifact that I can Force of Vigor. He presents an enchantment, also cool. So with the trigger on the stack, to give it a mana, I will Force of Vigor his 2 permanents. I pitch the Betramol Cup. Yes, it's good mana, but the Endurance has more value against Faithless Looting. And now I can safely cast Thoughtseize without getting in trouble with Veil of Summer. And he has Veil of Summer. I take the Lion's Eye Diamond. So my opponent's hand is Wish, some shitty land, and Veil of Summer. And the shitty land I get with Wasteland on my next turn. So let's go. Yeah, cannot cast Thoughtseize. There's Veil, but my opponent doesn't make mana, so I can Thoughtseize him after all. Let's see what he reveals. There's a Dark Ritual hiding, and I take the Ritual, so it's just Burning Wish and Veil of Summer. Completely beatable. Let's see if I draw out of there quicker than my opponent. Here's a land that can get Surveil. I could preemptively cast the Disruptor Flute on Tendrils, but I want to have it as a surprise. Drawing Zenith is fantastic because I can just put the Collector Oof on the battlefield and see if my opponent can work with not having artifacts without artifacts. Opponent does nothing. I attack for 2. Most mana efficient is just to play out the Endurance, which I do. I should probably do it upkeep that he doesn't have the chance with the looting. But given that he has no artifact mana, I don't think there is a chance. Anyways, I will do the most efficient, just get the clock on the board. Yes, I tap myself out of Force of Vigor and Disruptor Flute, but again, Collector Oof says no cheating with mana. There is a way to have like the Mana Confluence, Boomerang Basics, and then beat me with artifacts. Yes. On the other hand, I didn't want to give him so many more turns, so I will just attack. Birds is cool because I can activate the Vite. And I still have the Disruptor Flute up. So let's see what my opponent does. He's conceding. So the Collector Oof was probably good. Maybe he didn't draw any lands. Anyways, 2-1. Round number 4, play against Uravik. 3, as a lands aficionado, I remember the name. He always plays some variant of lands. Let's see how the matchup goes. He is starting. That's a bit of a bummer, of course. We have some dorks and plenty of lands. Let's see what my opponent does to us. Windswept Heath, Forest, Exploration, Wasteland, Soul Guide Lantern. Completely fair. It will shrink to white at some point, but having fetch land, forest, bird, I feel invincible. There's nothing really my opponent can do. Even a Tabernacle, the bird can pay for itself. There is a sphere that makes it a little bit more complicated. I do draw another fetch land like a boss, and I can be completely protected from Wasteland. And with the Cradle, I am able to cast the Ouroboros and make my creatures bigger. Let's attack for 3. And then, my bad, I didn't see the secret mode. 1 tap to draw a card. I wanted to deny him the Dredge with the Loam and Bojuka Bock him, but he will respond with the Soul Guide Lantern. I think in the end it would have been exactly the same because there was another Loam in the graveyard and a Caracas, but of course I would have gotten the Wasteland, which can be troubling in the future. My opponent does get an Expedition map instead, probably for a Maze or a Tabernacle. There's a Maze. But my creatures will continue to grow, and I don't mind paying for the Sphere. I have plenty of mana and plenty of big creatures. He has to Maze my white, but the Ouroboros makes it so that it's really, really hard for him to get around. He has to kill the Basingse because it's another way to make creatures. I will sack one of the I will sack the bird to get a Wasteland, and that should be it because I can Wasteland the Maze while paying for all my creatures and then attacking for like 1000 damage rounded up. So I saw that it's the green-white version with lands, so he probably plays Sphere and Swords to Plowshares, but he doesn't play Malevolent Rumble. I bring in the Endurances, I bring in the Force of Vigors and the Disruptor Flute. The cards I think are worthless is Grist and the Nantuko. I still wanted to have one Nantuko if I ever, but thinking about it, maybe boarding out 4 Nantukos would have been better. And I boarded out 2 of the Oberoids because it's quite unlikely that a situation like this happens. Maybe thinking about the first game, the third Ouroboros is better than the Nantuko because making insects is not really that great against the Tabernacle. So let's see how it goes. Can always think about the decisions while playing. It's a bit of a stinker, lots of lands and a Zenith. Here we have not so many lands, but some mana, and the Bechamel Cup. I put down the Nantuko. Let's see if we get out of it. Survey land. And a bird. What you got? Tabernacle. Bird pays for itself. No land. Hierarch. Go. Basingse. The mana creatures pay for themselves. I need to draw a land to activate the cup. Or not activate, to get the cup. I will make it from a forest. Let's do the cup. And now I'm able to actually get under this Tabernacle because my creatures make 1 more green mana. That's fantastic. And I also have the flute for the Saga. I have to keep in mind that he can get skateboard with a Saga and attack with an instant speed Manatraders, but this is not for now. Here it's fantastic that 2 of the mana creatures make 4 mana to pay for all the creatures, and I have 3 mana that I can use for anything else. So Tabernacle, love the card so much, but the Bechamel Cup makes it look like a little joke. Endurance is great because if he goes for the Manatraders plan next turn, I can punish it by just blocking. Here I can attack for 4, which is cool, put him down to 16. I have to start attacking at some point. And I will flash in the Disruptor Flute, doesn't matter when, and just name Orsa Saga, so he cannot produce any tokens. The Wasteland is kind of a joke because I have 2 forests. He doesn't activate Basingse, so something is coming. And here I can use 2 of the creatures and 1 land to pay for the 5 creatures, and I do have 4 mana floating. That is of course great. I have another Bechamel Cup, animate the land, and now my Ignoble Hierarch is actually a Black Lotus, which is so cool. And the Black Lotus is able to cast Endurance. Let's see what my opponent does. There's crop rotation number 1 for the stage. There is crop rotation number 2 for the depths. There is activation, make a 20/20 indestructible. Doesn't have to pay 1 because it's indestructible. But I do have the surprise endurance off of my Black Lotus Hierarch. Let's tap 3 green. Hopefully no Talon Gates, but he already spent 2 crop rotations. So I doubt it. Let's block. Let's survive. And let's hoof my opponent next turn if he has nothing else. There's a Sphere of Resistance, so slight mistake by my opponent. I don't think it would have mattered so much. Play the Sphere pre-combat, and I had to play my Endurance then, and he could have maced his Manatraders. Yeah. Not a fan of the place. Maybe he wanted to threaten something, but even a Swords is not that threatening because I go over 20 life and the Manatraders doesn't kill me. Now I have in total 7 triggers, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana dorks that are actually Black Lotuses. So I pay for the creatures that can attack, and I will let exactly 1 land die because it's 6 in total. And with that, I hopefully draw a mana source, because if I draw a mana source, I can Cradle for Hoof, and Hoof with the 2 cups, +7/+7 each, should get through a maze. And here it is, the land. Let's go. So lucky. If I didn't get the land, I could have also gotten on 9 mana something like Icefall Explorer into into, oh no, I would be dead. Yeah, I would be dead. I need to draw the land because I have no good removal, but I could also just gotten 2 more endurances, right? 9 mana is 4+4. So yeah, but given that I drew the land, I can make 10 mana here, pay 1 for the sphere, and pay 9 in total for the zenith. X equals 8, put the hoof on the battlefield and hoof my opponent for, I think the hoof is 5, so it's 5 plus 4 is 9, and then 7. So 30 damage he can prevent, 12 of it. It is plenty enough, even through a tabernacle and a sphere. Yippee. Round number 5. Let's see how it goes. We have another one lander. Maybe I need another land. Maybe I need to play Once Upon a Time. But we do have all the goodies. Let's try it. Opponent reveals a Chancellor. Is it oops? Petal. Petal. City of Traders. It's definitely not oops. It's turn 1 initiative. Cool. That is still playable. Here I have to throw a bird into the bin because of the Chancellor. My opponent attacks for 5 and has even more Anointed Peacekeeper. Names the cup because it's the most explosive I have. I play the white because it can at least block. However, this Dungeoneer can grow the Peacekeeper, make it unblockable, or protection from creatures. Then I have to jump block because I'm already on 9 life. The games go fast when you play against initiative. And he even has, what is this? Sage of the Skies. Interesting. Yeah, nothing much I can do. Turn 1 initiative on the play. Turn 2 Anointed Peacekeeper. Turn 3 some random card. But these 2 alone attacking for 9 when I had 9 life after the trap resolve. Target player loses 5 life. A bummer. So I bring in the Snuff Out. Maybe also the Endurances could be cool. I thought about it later because the 3/4 body on a reach creature is nice. So yeah, maybe the Endurances could be cool as well. I took out an Ice Toll, an Oof, and a Bojuka Bog. Yes, the Oof kills Lotus Petal, but the Lotus Petal ramps him out much quicker than I have the Oof ready. So the Snuff Out is here to help me. Let's see if it actually helps me. I just have a fast start, no Snuff Out though. Hopefully the start is enough. Maybe my opponent doesn't have the good initiative. He has the Peacekeeper on the cup again. I do have the Zenith for the cup, but I decide to get the white because it gets bigger. It gets sorted. Maybe the Zenith for the cup would have been better. Grist is great, but I play the cup to make mana. Maybe Grist and killing the Peacekeeper would have been better. Archon Voice Peacekeeper is very, very dangerous. I can only make some tokens. Not being able to cast more than 1 spell is, of course, painful. At least I can block with the tokens I make off the Nantuko. The situation is really dire. And here I notice that the Archon is screwing me quite a lot. At least I can make another land drop, make another bird to block. My opponent attacks for quite a lot. I block the small ones. I jump one of the big ones. I go to 6 life. Snuff Out on top is great. But here I noticed that there's Archon and Voice. So Archon says only 1 spell per turn. Voice says no spell in his turn or my opponent's turn, which means that I'm again in deep trouble. So I shouldn't make the token. I should kill the Archon and Snuff Out. I notice it too late. At least I have a trick. Containment Priest is a bummer. At least I have a trick with the white because the white can phase out the Archon and then I can play the Snuff Out in my opponent's turn. So some blocks. Then I phase out using a token. This, of course, will kill my white. Maybe would have been better to phase out or to kill my own bird. I only got 4 damage, or took 4 damage, so I'm at 2 life. And now I can do exactly what I said before. Cast the Snuff Out on the creatures, kill the ones that are harder to block. My opponent has a Witch Enchanter to get rid of the Nantuko. I have to jump with the bird and hope that I can find something good. And here is Alpha Deathclaw, yay! The Deathclaw kills the flyer. The Grist even milled a Grist. 2 life. It looks like I am barely surviving this, and I did, with a Rescue Alpha Deathclaw off the top. I guess the Great Dove would have done it, the Green Sun Zenith would have done it, another Grist would have done it. So there are some outs, but I also need to draw them. If it would have been just a land, I couldn't have made it. I do have a second Talon Gates to phase something out, so at least something. 1-1. And now I did bring in the Endurances, as I said, because he has a lot of like 3-3, 2-3 flyers, 1-3s. So the Endurance, just as a 3-4 with reach, should be a good body. I took out the Oberoids, I took out the Hoof, and I took out the Basingse because it's also just too slow. So let's see how it goes. Hopefully not a turn 1 initiative. There's a High Rock, there's Snuff Out. So if my opponent doesn't do so crazy on turn 1, I should be fine. It looks like a sword. I still play the Hierarch, and then I have the Endurance as a perfect blocker and attacker. There's a Conqueror. I will snuff it out just to be quick, because I would really use my Hierarch for mana. And here I can play Hierarch and flash in Endurance. Perfect. Especially perfect my opponent plays the Initiative. But he only has the Peacekeeper. My hand does nothing. I do draw Bechamel Cup, which is cool. It's attack for 5. Ancient Tomb already did 4 damage to my opponent. And I have the Cup on fetch land value. Here opponent has 5 mana. It looks like Solitude. So I need to be wary of this. We can ramp a little bit, also get the Surveil. I put the Endurance in the graveyard because I feel I have one already. Snuff Out, fantastic draw. And I decide to actually attack with the Bechamel Cup. My opponent plays the Solitude as I thought, exiling the Bechamel Cup. I still have Endurance as a perfect blocker. My opponent has a sword and a Voice of Victory, but here I don't miss that I cannot cast spells when this is on the battlefield, and I snuff out the Solitude, and I should be good for the race because the Dryad actually attacks for 3, and I have a Miracle Deathclaw once again. Fantastic. I love the card so much. I kill the Peacekeeper, I attack with the Dryad, opponent is on 6 life, I don't care about the Voice of Victory, no card in hand, concession, Alpha Deathclaw for the victory once again. 4-1, not too shabby. Our blue-black opponent from round 1 didn't really do much. Maybe he was afraid of the Bechamel Cup. Then we had close games against blue-red. Not having Endurance main definitely is hurtful. I feel that a card like Barrogoyf could be cool. Yes, Endurance is cool to get rid of the graveyard, also to beat combo decks. Maybe it could be instead of Snuff Out. On the other hand, I loved Snuff Out against the White Initiative. It was such good tempo, and also just paying for mana is completely reasonable. Then I beat Storm, like some Saga Storm variant that chose not to play mono black, but all five colors for Faithless Looting. It should be a better matchup for us because our Wastelands are great, but of course, like when they do Echo of Eons, I can only sit there and cross both of my fingers and hope to get there. We got there, lucky us. Then we played against lands with Sphere of Resistance and Swords to Plowshares. I got to jump block with Endurance and use Bechamel Cup to slowly get out of the Tabernacle lock, which was really cool. The matchup should be fine. Yes, fast Merit Lage hurts. I don't have good removal for Merit Lage. I just have good blockings for Merit Lage and maybe a Wasteland, Talon Gates. On the other hand, the Sphere is not really hurtful, as is Tabernacle. Probably this is a tough matchup for the Lands deck. And in the last round, Initiative, I just said, snuff out in the sideboarded games was fantastic. In game 1, I got completely, utterly destroyed. Nothing to be gained. Too bad the Ouroboros didn't really do so much this league. I wonder if it's the matchups. Yes, against Storm, it made the clock a bit faster. Overall, I do like the deck list. I would love to fit some Barrogoyfs in just to be better against the blue-red, but also it should be good against Initiative. Like Death Touch Lifelink blocks almost everything they have. So for one, let me know what you think. What are your feelings about the 4 Nantuko, 4 Grist, 1 Ice Till, 9 Insect Control Cradle build that also uses Orboroid instead of Natural Order. Of course, these 4 cards could be 3 Natural Order, and Atraxa might be a little better. I just wanted to try out the card because I felt all the mana dorks are necessary to get out of the gates quickly, but in the end, in the late game, you don't really want to see an Ignoble or a Bird, and that's where it really shines to have a card like Oberoi, so even these O1s get into threats quickly. That's it for today. I wish you all the best, not facing Oops all the time. Maybe you face Oberoi instead. Cheers.